Hey, what's going on, everybody? Nigeria Chambers here from Big Old Belt Media at WonderCon 2024. Very excited to talk to this brother here. Just came out of this panel. We're going to see what other information we can get from him. But without further ado,
Hi, Emilio Sosa, costume designer for theater and film.
amazing, amazing. I think I definitely want to start there. I know you briefly touched up on it, but that sort of stepping into another world. Is it more difficult, less difficult, a little the same, a lot of the same? Just what is that transition from coming from stage into the big screen?
It's a lot of the same, but it's a whole different world. You know, I had to train my eye differently, I always say, because theater, imagine you're looking at the wide shot, which means that you're looking at the entire stage at once. So when you're in the audience, you see everything.
Yeah.
So that's one set of eyes. On film, the camera is your eye, and it tells you where to look. And close-ups are like 10 foot tall. So every little detail really becomes really, really important.
Yeah.
In theater, you know, the color of the thread on a button, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
On film, you will see that color of that thread.
Yeah.
So my choices are more intentional working on film. Also, the approval. The approval of a costume. In theater, it's myself, the director, the actor, and maybe the producer. On film, on a big studio film, it might take about a week to get a costume approved. So it's a lot. It's a whole
Growing pains.
It's a lot of growing pains. You know, you kind of have to. For me, I had to let go of the design a little.
Yeah.
Once you turn it in, you have to let it go to the powers to be.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, they really have more say than I do.
So is this, and I guess, you know, with the emphasis of, you know, coming from a strike and both writers' strike, actors' strike, and everybody really standing up for the rights to get better and just rights going forward. Do you think this may be a means to why a lot of folks, I mean, we're talking about big names from big productions or people who just have various different resumes, do you think this may be the reason why the emphasis turned back into independent projects because of that higher ups and folks really wanting to keep control of their creatives or even exercise them in a way they haven't been able to? Do you think this is why independent work has just really blossomed over the last few years?
Well, I think it also has to do a lot with the pandemic because we were all out of work and we had to be resourceful. And I think when you're forced to be resourceful, you find out that you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
You don't need, I mean, we all want the $100 million budget,
Yeah.
but if your goal is to tell stories, meaningful stories, you will find a way of getting it done. And sometimes keeping the control is really, at the end of the day, what's the most valuable piece of the work you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, I had to give away a lot of control sometimes in the design
Yeah.
because it is like a studio film. But if I didn't, but then I did an independent film
Yeah.
where I had more control. So it all depends on what story you want to tell.
Yeah. I loved your answer. And the question at the panel was about Easter eggs and these folks that work behind the camera saying, like, were there things that people did in terms of, like, planting Easter eggs in their respective project? Your answer was so touching and so beautiful. You mentioned that, like, no, I don't do Easter eggs, but I do add, like, intentional tidbits there.
Totally, you know, because for me, I want to make sure that my actor is comfortable in what we call a costume. Because what I don't call my work costumes, I just call it clothing for stage or TV.
Yeah, okay.
Because you want an actor to embody the character. And, you know, sometimes we'll incorporate a color. It's their favorite color.
Yeah.
You know, I may not be able to do it for the outside of the costume, but maybe the lining. You know, maybe, you know, they have a locket from their grandmother that they get to wear underneath a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Little things like that just brings the personalizes it for the actor, so they become the character and not just a person wearing clothing.
Yeah, and I think to give flowers back to you too, it also just doesn't make you just a person with a job. Yes, you create these relationships with folks and means that you're taking it serious because you're getting to know them and thinking about things that means important to them in terms of being able to have the success for the whole project. So I love that.
No, totally. I think the costume department is the one department that works the closest with the actors. We are with them from the moment that they get hired through their fittings, through shooting. So it's a real intimate relationship where you do become familiar with them. And so you have relationships with people.
Yeah. Oscars. Talk about costume, and John Cena goes up there and puts his foot down for you all. What did it mean for them to go up there practically new, but in sort of just solidarity with a very important department that, as he mentioned, without them, here I am.
You know what? It's a bold statement that needed to be said. And sometimes the audience that needs to hear it doesn't hear it from the people who do the work. They need higher ups. And John Cena is such a name. The fact that he took it upon himself to help a department that really they'll be naked without us is huge for our industry.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, brother, just keep keep going.
By God, one of my favorite people. Last question really quickly, and then, we're not getting anybody in trouble here, but you do have a major project coming up. So I'll let you, whatever that project call is, Descendants here. But anything you might be able to say about it, or even just a release date for folks.
Descendants, The Rise of Red is a new episode on the franchise, and that's coming out in July of 2024. It's my first real big studio film. So there's a lot writing on it, but I enjoyed it for what I learned from it. I learned the whole studio system. I learned how to work with other departments. I learned how to work with a team of like 30 makers. It just elevated my game, and for that alone, I'm so grateful for it.
Amazing. He said July, and folks, y'all know July is San Diego Comic-Con, so hopefully we'll be back there to talk a little bit more about it. But I appreciate your time today, brother, and thank you so much for everything you said on the stage. Very insightful.
Well, my pleasure. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
Absolutely.